Today we tell you the story of Jane Arkensaw, aka Jane the Killer, a girl next door to Jeff. Jane used to watch Jeff from the window from time to time. He was new in the neighborhood and she was curious about him. One day she was late for school and saw Randy and his gang threatening Jeff and his brother Lou. She knew perfectly that Randy was a bully who made everyone pay money or a recess snack in exchange for not getting beaten up. She looked back and saw how Randy stole Lou's bag and pushed Jeff to the ground. Then he stood up, and Jane said to herself, "Stay seated, don't be stupid." Then she saw how Jeff lunged at Randy. Then he grabbed Troy, who fell to the ground screaming in pain. Jane was surprised. It seemed that Jeff was having too much fun. The next thing that came was the sound of police car sirens, and Jane's father, who was a policeman, came out of his house and got into the car. Jane went with her parents to school, and they told her very clear that they didn't want her to talk to Jeff, so she didn't see him again until the end of the day. When she saw him leave class, she noticed as if Jeff was pretending to be happy so that people would not suspect the crime he had committed, but in reality he was showing a slightly sadistic smile. It was like the smile of a madman, Jane thought. The next day, Jane looked out the window and saw a police car in front of Jeff's house. She thought that they would take Jeff for what he had done, but she was wrong. Instead of him, they arrested Liu. Then she saw Jeff crying for what happened. From that moment, people started to spread many poisonous rumors about Liu. Days later, Jeff's next-door neighbor threw a birthday party, and Jane watched through the window as the kids were having fun, until Randy and his friends jumped over the fence. Randy lunged at Jeff and knocked him down. Then Troy and Jake pulled out some guns, and then Jane knew they were going to kill him. She decided to call the police. After hearing some shots, she looked again. She saw the flames of fire and heard screams, so she grabbed a fire extinguisher and headed towards the house. But when she got there, she saw Jeff sitting on the stairs burning with flames. He had singed skin, and Jane passed out. When she woke up, she was in the hospital and asked about Jeff. The nurse told her that she couldn't let her see him, even if she was his girlfriend, to which she replied with a trembling voice, "He's not my boyfriend." So she left the room, saw Jeff's parents, who thanked her for having tried to save their son. They told her that Jeff was wearing bandages, that they would be removed in a few days, and that when the time came, they would let her know. Then she recounted everything she saw when Jeff got into a fight with Randy's gang, and Jeff's parents said that if it was true, they would set Liu free in a few days. Days later, Jane's classmates started picking on her, because they thought she had a crush on Jeff. Liu appeared and told her that Jeff's bandages would be removed the next day. The next morning, Jane saw Jeff's parents' car parked and she was very happy. But when she saw Jeff get out of the car, her face changed with shock. His previously brown hair was now black, his skin was white, and with the same sadistic smile that she saw the same day he had a fight with Randy. Then she saw how Jeff was staring at her with those wide and scary eyes. Then Jane came into her house, and the parents asked her what was wrong, to which Jane responded with a shriek and passed out. When Jane woke up, it was already dark, and her parents were not home. She got out of bed in a black dress, went downstairs and saw that the kitchen light was on. There was a note on the table that said, "Are you going to come and eat dinner? Your friends are here." After reading this, Jane began to shake, and saw through the window that the lights of Jeff's house were on. Then she saw Jeff leaning against the window of her house, looking at Jane with a knife in his hand, tapping on the window and smiling. Scared, Jane took a knife and ran out of the house. She went to Jeff's house very scared. She closed her eyes and went inside. With her eyes still closed, she heard someone say, "You've made it. I'm glad, my friend." Jane screamed. She saw that Jeff's eyes were big and unblinking, and his smile was red. His clothes were covered in blood. Jane passed out again. When she woke up, she was at a dining table, her knife missing. Sitting around the table were Jeff's parents and his friends, all dead with smiles carved into their faces. She tried to scream, but she was gagged. Tears of blood were coming out of her eyes. Look who's finally awake. Jane looked to her side and saw that Jeff was there. She tried to scream, but Jeff was behind her, putting a knife to her throat and said, "Shut up, shut up. Friends shouldn't be yelled at. I'm sure you're furious because you don't look as beautiful as them, but don't worry. I'll soon make you look beautiful too." Jeff cut the gag with the knife. Jane looked in his eyes and whispered, "Fuck you." Jeff went out and Jane began to cry, thinking about her family. Jeff came back. "Don't cry," he said. Jane saw that he was holding a jug of bleach and a can of gasoline. So he poured the bleach and gasoline into her. "Don't worry, I've already called the fire department," Jeff told her. And then he lit the fire. As soon as the fire came in contact with Jane, she burst into huge flames, and Jeff stormed off saying, "See ya, my dear friend. I hope you become as beautiful as I am." When Jane woke up, she was back in the hospital and her head was pounding. Then a nurse informed her that her family had died in the fire. Then Jane started crying. Upon waking up again, she saw that she no longer had bandages and that there were several bouquets of flowers. She had slept for 2 weeks straight. "Give me a mirror," Jane said. Seeing herself, she threw the mirror to the ground in horror. Her face was completely burned. A package arrived, and Jane was about to open it. Inside, there was a white mask with black around the hollow of the eyes, and with a smile painted in black. There was also a black wig, a bouquet of black roses, and a sharp kitchen knife. And there was a note. "Jane, I'm sorry you're not as beautiful as I am, but this will cover your face while you recover. And you left the knife at my house, so I thought I'd give it back to you." After reading it, she left the hospital, put on her wig and went to the cemetery, saw her parents' graves and cried for the last time, then put on her mask and grabbed the knife with all her might. Since that day, Jane swore revenge, and every time the sun goes down, she goes looking for Jeff to find him and kill him. Jane's motto says the opposite of Jeff's: "Don't go to sleep," in order to avoid Jeff get to do the same to more innocent victims.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you on the next episode.